Howdy, howdy. All right, so I read a note wrong. Uh, the first video I did, don't think I'll think of you. Most of our things are influenced by others. What better entertainment than intentional unconscious change? As I was coming to scratch this note, I realized that it's not don't think I'll think of of you, I'll think for you. So here, I think that's a perfect example how our emotions allow us to presume something. And it happened literally on a video that on a note that I was like reading. I was like, no, let's read this fucking note. And here we go. I read it wrong. Maybe because not maybe. Like so so I assumed a completely different direction. Like don't think I'll think of you versus don't think I'll think for you. There's completely two different directions. One is like me, or the other is like you. And so the previous video is completely off. And again, the reason it's off is simply because it felt like these emotions made me read this wrong, which I think what we call dyslexia, right? Because like when you're dyslexic, you kind of like assume things, you rush into things, you don't really like double check. And also could be a bit of bias because like emotions kind of give us bias. So what does it mean to, and we're shifting the meaning. So we got two videos for the price of one. One no. Ah. Okay, I'll be serious now. Don't think I'll think for you. Most of our things are influenced by others. Most of our changes are influenced by others. Most of our changes, exactly. I can see an S here. See it? Changes. I know. I write in cursive. So, well, I think the statement is clear. I can't think for you. And it's funny because I said, don't think, I'll think for you. It feels like now the reason I'm thinking I wrote this note is because I probably was in a conversation where somebody asked for my advice. And it's funny because a lot of people, when they actually ask for, when they're interacting with you and asking for advice, maybe, or just kind of like expecting you to respond to a situation that they kind of presented in order to see the feedback, I think they miscalculate how different what they explained would have been to other people. And again, it's just, if I were to be thinking for you, how would it look like? Well, if I were to be thinking for you, the easiest way for that to happen is to be more contractual. Like, you be the leader in this, and I'll be the leader in this. Or you're thinking for me when it comes to this stuff, and you're thinking for me when it comes to this stuff. That's the most dynamic way for this to kind of like make sense, right? Or else it's more of a help me situation. Like, I don't know what to do, tell me what to do, or give me advice, or something like this. Or just, I don't know, it's definitely not something business wise. Although I have been interacting with a lot of people that are like in the entrepreneurship field. Overall, we are, again, so I'm trying to look at this note differently because I already looked at it a certain kind of way earlier. So don't think I'll think for you. Most of our changes are influenced by others. What better entertainment than intentional and unconscious change? And I think here I'm pointing at the fact like when you're actually in the presence of others, like be more driven to actually impact your own change. And here now it looks differently because now I'm looking at this note And I'm looking at it from a perspective of I am trying to explain how others could apply my entertaining process of change from their own perspective to whatever is happening with other people. And here, don't think I'll think for you as specifically because, like, don't do that. Like, if you're going to have a conversation with me, utilize the fact that I have a different point of view for you to influence your own change. Because most of our changes are influenced by others. So explore more in a way that maybe you would be able to understand my point of view, maybe. Or at the very least, like, choose to trust some things to be certain truths that I actually uphold in order for you to kind of gauge how your principles and values approach their existence and the truths that you have. I mean, I'd explain it as an entertaining thing, right? It's like we're hanging out, we're meeting, we're talking. And there's a blissful way for us to always kind of like look at these things as more as the mundane process of it's kind of like the meditative state, right? It's like when you're okay, so I should probably talk about that now. Last week I built a desk with my dad, and that's the desk. Super cute, yeah? The goal of this desk is, and I put it here just to take a picture for him, but the goal of this desk is to actually have an environment specifically for computer work, which is awesome. I don't know. I feel like it's easier for me to create it in the house than to create it somewhere else. And I'm thinking in terms, I don't know if I'm thinking in terms of time or if I'm thinking in terms of anything else, but desk is done. And I actually went and I did it with my father, where we were kind of like sitting in his workshop and just kind of like grinding, 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 grinding. This needs sandpapering, this needs shopping, this needs this. And we kind of followed every detail that needs to be done. And it was such a state where everything was like kind of flowing through the mind and out of the mind. And because like the task at hand kind of like takes all your focus and energy and everything else just kind of like leaves you. And well, any conversation, if you're comfortable with yourself, is basically one that you kind of like respond to with the innate conversations that you've had established before. Like if I know exactly how I would act in the situation, that's why martial artists like practice a punch 1,000 times plus. Why? Because when the time comes and a punch is needed, they don't have to think about it. That happens naturally. The same with words, right? The same with how we move, the same how we interact, the same how we treat animals, the same way how we engage with family, friends, and all that good stuff. Every single thing is basically could be a rehearsed moment, a practiced attempt. All the stuff that allow us to feel more comfortable about whatever it is that we're doing. Right? Because like I can go play basketball right now. I will not be any good. But if I practice every day for like a month, then I'm definitely going to feel better, be better, like a lot more confidence and all that shit. And the same, because I understand people have their limitations or they have their issues, but like why would you want somebody else to like think for you? Why wouldn't you use the fact that they're responsive in your conversation and kind of build on top of that, right? Build on top of the concept or the build on top of the energy they're willing to put in and kind of find a way to entertain your change to its maximal capacity, naturally, without offending the other person or without imposing yourself. Um, from my perspective, man, I don't see myself succeeding in it, right? Because I see myself still having a lot to learn. But I figure if you're looking at the world as every single thing in front of you is basically an opportunity or a distraction, then why not fully commit to the possibility of whatever they can be and interact with them as honestly and authentically as you can without any presumptions of what it could be, what it could look like, how it could feel. Just completely just interact as if it exists, fuck yeah, and amazing. I really think a big part of us would save would save energy just from the sheer joy of our fuck ups. But again, as long as we're the ones in charge of these fuck ups, we don't really feel bad about them because we kind of like see how we change in order for these fuck ups to not become a reality, to not happen again. And I think that's the entertaining part. Shall we call it? I'm not going to be thinking of for you. Most of our changes are influenced by others. Seek entertainment in an intentional way and seek change in an unconscious way. Seek entertainment in an intentional way and seek change in an unconscious way. It's a video. Woohoo!